Shout out to a comment. We got a comment on a previous video, and I thought I would like your opinion on this because I know you're going to be hosting the video. And I was actually kind of curious what you would say too, as an investor with experience in totally different markets, a bunch of different stuff. Like we're primarily Waterloo region right now, small to mid-level multi-units, those kind of deals. But they said in 6.5 years, the youngest baby boomer will be 66 years old. And I mean, like, my mom's 62. She's kind of at the tail end of those baby boomers, right? So my folks and my in-laws are around this age. They're wondering if we're going to see a ripple effect for, as people start moving out of their homes into assisted living. I'd love to kind of get your opinion on that aging population, because I feel like that topic has really been kind of thrown to the wayside with how affordability is really getting crushed. And new units and immigration are kind of the hot topics in real estate. We've kind of forgotten about that aging population and what they're going to do with their homes and their living situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting topic. I grew up with my grandparents, so I've got like a pretty good connection to sort of the boomer type of generation,
Yeah,
and I would say I'm friends with a lot of them. I'm also an avid hunter, and so like there's a really aging
that
population
population is true, right?
in the hunting community. So it's a conversation that I'm very well exposed to. A couple things to like think about when these guys are aging and looking to dispose of the properties that they're in and what they're actually looking to transition to. And I think it actually has some pretty interesting consequences on the people who are entering the market, and also the people who their wealth is going to transition to, right? Like some of them are going to like die and leave legacies. Some of them are going to move out of permanent like single family residences and into condos. Some of them are going to move into like older care, right? So like assisted living and stuff. So I think that there's going to be a big shift in where the wealth is, and there's going to be a massive flow of like people who are like in their 80s giving money and giving wealth and giving properties to their next generation of kids who are going to be like in their 60s. And then maybe that's going to open up a bunch of inventory for the people who are in their 60s who are now going to either upgrade their lifestyle or take that money and reinvest it into their own properties. But one interesting thing that I've noticed, because my grandparents are actively seeking a property right now, and they're in the situation where like they bought their house cash in like the 70s and they've lived in the same house since, but it's now in like a super desirable neighborhood. So it's appreciated. I don't know, it's appreciated like $900,000 from where they bought it. And so
Yeah.
with them having no debt or no anything against that, because that just wasn't part of their generational, like that wasn't part of the culture. Like
No, it
borrowing was
really
actually
wasn't.
bad. So I think there's an interesting opportunity here where a lot of these houses that are either too large for them to stay in, there's stairs, there's multiple levels, or the
Too
yards
much
are
space,
actually too
period.
big. It's just too much space and it's too much work to upkeep these things. So with them, it's a unique position where these people have a lot of equity that they can offer up to a new buyer. So like I made my investing career off of vendor take back mortgages, right?
Yeah.
Where I actually go and I ask for the seller to hold the mortgage so that I don't have to qualify for as much at a traditional bank. There's going to be a lot of those opportunities. There's also going to be a lot of people, say that the next generation, that are going to be passed on a lot of wealth, who will have a lot of cash to purchase either better properties or reinvest in their own. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on with that.
I see a lot
Yes,
of
I think there.
resistance for people leaving their homes.
Yeah, right now
Because there's no
especially.
good suitable accommodations for the aging
Yes,
population. So they're thinking, well, if I don't have a great option, whether I can afford it or not, if that option's not great, why would I pick up and leave the home I actually like love and I'm comfortable
yes,
here? Yeah, it's too big, or yeah, I don't need the space. But as long as they can, still get up and down the stairs, or if they still have a bedroom on the main floor and they don't have to do that, and they can take most of the day to day, like I talked to a lot of people are just like, I just rather just not move and just try and stay here as long as I can. I see that happening just because there isn't other alternatives. Like my grandmother and grandparents, my grandmother and my grandfather on my mom's side, they had the opportunity to move into, elderly care and then assisted living as they got older and needed more help. But like that was lucky. That was lucky they got a spot for something like that.
and I think there's a unique opportunity for investors, particular, who I think a lot of the people watching this channel are just sort of biased
Yeah.
to be investors. So There is also a unique opportunity that I've observed from a lot of these conversations, which is you might take this house that's appreciated 900,000 or whatever. Now you've got all this equity, and really it's not about selling the house. It's about changing the problem. Like the problem's grown too big in the maintenance of the place or the
Yeah.
accessibility of the place. And so I think a lot of these people are actually willing to spend similar amounts of money when they downsize the house. And so there's a unique opportunity here where I find a lot of older people or aging people, they don't want like the shitty house that needs a bunch of improvements. They actually want like the house that's turnkey, right? So as an investor, focusing on these single family houses that you can actually produce like a bungalow that's well done at it, even if it's at a high price point, like they have the equity and they're willing to spend it. They just need to solve the problem of accessibility and the yard being too big or whatever that looks
Yeah,
like.
I feel like that is one big solution, that because the lack of other options for suitable accommodations is so low and is still so expensive. It's not necessarily about the money. If they have hundreds of thousands in equity and they're low in debt or have no debt, they're like, I can afford to live. It's not that I can't afford to go get something suitable. It's just there's nothing suitable out there. And I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting. Adam's actually done a ton of videos about like his experience with VTBs, working, negotiating creative deals. Like the more creative you can be, especially I think in the next couple of years, as we do have a big market shift with asset values, with lending practices, with lending availability, like being creative on deals, whether it's a small single family home, whether it's a larger multi-unit. Like I personally, like I've followed your stuff. So like just shout out if you guys have any questions. Like Adam has done a ton of that stuff. Really get well versed on how you can get creative with new property acquisition. As an investor, like that's something that we started doing a lot of work on because we started running into roadblocks where we weren't getting the juicy A financing all the time as easily. Too many projects on the go, ratios for the properties we weren't working, didn't look good on acquisition. So I think that the aging population is an interesting problem that's getting swept under the rug right now. But for investors out there that want to get creative, or if you guys have family members that are going through those situations, talk to some investors, talk to some real estate professionals. And there's lots of people that do prep for retirement planning on the financing side. Like get some help, obviously get professional advice. This is just a conversation for me and Adam here, but I thought it was a really interesting comment. So thank you for dropping the comment on the previous video. There are serious implications. And we're going to talk about the ADU event at the end of this video, Adam. I think the ADUs will continually be an option for those that are equity heavy, but need to adjust their living situation and their accommodations. And they may avoid making a big move to a different part of town or to a totally different city if they can avoid it. So that's definitely a market that we're looking at for our clients. Now, sellers, you sellers out there. I shared this slide or a very similar one in the previous video.